Hello, welcome back. This is the second part of Chapter 2 of the O'Brien text for Alvernia University's MIS311 class. In Chapter 1, we used the word re-engineering. Didn't say too much about it, but it is time to talk about it. The notion of re-engineering a product or a process is to rethink it from the ground up. It's sort of a scorched earth approach to change. We're not just going to moderately, incrementally change what we have. We're just going to rethink everything about that system or that the building of that product or whatever. A couple things. So it's a radical change with re-engineering. The starting point with just an incremental change is the existing process, as opposed to the clean slate in that in this radical approach of re-engineering. Another thing to refer, the last thing that's important in this chart is the last line actually. The risk of failure with a just a incremental improvement in a business process is small to moderate, but the risk of failure with re-engineering is very high. On the other hand, the gains that can be achieved by re-engineering are also very high, and that's why it's often the solution. Not only does IT play a major role in re-engineering most business processes, it probably fuels it and drives it and instigates it, because IT changes can substantially increase business process efficiencies, improve communication, facilitate collaboration, lower costs, put you in businesses you weren't even in before. So in fact, IT is a major cause of a lot of re-engineering of other processes. Wow, get ready for this one. There's a lot of concept in this diagram that we're seeing. The cross-functional process involving more than one business function. Look at the diagram across the bottom. We have business functions and business processes. Look at the difference. The business processes, from the proposal to the commitment to the configuration, the credit check, the delivery, the billing, and the collection. And those are business processes. The business functions, the functional areas like sales and marketing and finance and logistics. Okay, now what happens here is that they're saying that many processes, IT fuels much of this, are re-engineered with a couple of things. The revolution in software and web technologies, actually. ERP software, enterprise resource planning software, planning across the entire enterprise, and web-enabled e-business and e-commerce systems. An absolute revolution in the way businesses position themselves. This is an example of when you re-engineer a process. For example, the process of managing orders, order management. The IT that would support that process now would be customer relationship management systems using intranets and the internet. Supplier managed inventory systems using the internet and the extranets. Notice a common theme here: cross-functional ERP, enterprise resource planning, software to integrate manufacturing, distribution, finance, and human resource process, customer accessible e-commerce websites for order entry, status checking, customers checking their own status, payment and service, customer product and order status databases accessed via intranets and extranets. An absolute revolution in order management, and a company's got to be willing to just rethink or re-engineer a process like that. The notion of an agile company or agile system design, that word agile and agility has become very much in vogue the last few years, as opposed to the standard systems development life cycle. An agile company has the ability to prosper in a rapidly changing, continuously fragmenting global market by selling you hope high quality, high performance, customer configured products and services. That would be the ultimate agile company, using, of course, internet technologies. Everything assumes internet technologies now. An agile company profits in spite of all of these things, like short model lifetimes. By the time you can bring a product to market, people have already moved on past it in many cases. Individualized products. So it's, standardization is not very achievable. And all of these things that mean a company has to be agile to deal with current and rapidly changing conditions. You can see here what it takes to be agile, to be an agile company. The most important one in that whole list probably is maybe the middle one. Brings products to market as quickly and as cost effectively as possible. Some other things are important there to be an agile company, though. And maybe the other really important one is the second last one. An agile company organizes to thrive on change and uncertainty. Think about yourself. Not everybody embraces change, and certainly not everybody embraces uncertainty. But agile companies learn to organize around the inevitability of change and uncertainty. Agile companies are able to rethink how they do business, their relationship with their customer, their relationship with business partners, how they're going to perform their operations. This is an interesting chart, very dense with text. You might want to look in the book for this one. But an agile approach to your customers. They use eBay as an example. eBay customers are de facto product development team because they post an average of 10,000 messages each week to share tips, point out glitches, and lobby for changes. An agile approach to partnering. Yahoo, they point out, has accomplished a significant transformation from a search engine into a portal. More about portals later. And operational agility. Ingram Micro, a global wholesaler, has deployed an integrated trading system allowing its customers and suppliers to connect directly, squeezing it out of the middle, to its procurement and ERP systems. Have we talked about the word virtual yet? Oh man, are we going to see this one in a lot of context. Can you imagine a virtual company, a company that doesn't actually exist? And I don't just mean a company that's on the web but not in a brick and mortar building. But the virtual company doesn't exist in the way we usually think of a company. A virtual company uses IT to link people, organizations, assets, and ideas. And there are inter-enterprise information systems, so the company consists of the sort of imaginary link between these different entities. So these inter-enterprise information systems link the customers and the suppliers and the subcontractors and the competitors. There are shipping companies that own no trucks, for example. They just somebody owns the trucks, and this virtual company arranges the transportation, but does not own the truck, doesn't hire a driver. And by the way, have you heard of Cisco? Big telecommunications company. It's a virtual company. See the notion of a virtual company and how different it is from the old standard standalone company, a silo of information. Is, for example, virtual companies will share information and risk with their alliance partners, will link the complementary core competencies. You don't all have to be competent in everything. Reduce concept to cash time through this sharing. Increase facilities and market coverage, certainly, through these alliances. And gain access to new markets and share market or customer loyalty, again, with these your alliances, and migrate from selling products to selling solutions. Well, we've gone from data to information to knowledge. Let's talk about knowledge, and in particular a knowledge creating company. Our knowledge creating learning organization consistently creates new business knowledge, shares it, distributes it throughout the company, and builds it into its products and services. More about knowledge in the next 2 slides. You probably never thought about there being a couple kinds of knowledge. There's, of course, explicit knowledge, which is the things written down or stored in computers, data, documents, things like that. Explicit knowledge. That's stuff you can retrieve and see and share. What about tacit knowledge, the how-to knowledge? That's the tribal knowledge in workers' minds. It represents some of the most important information within an organization, and is hardest to replace when the one with that inside his head leaves you. A knowledge-creating company makes such tacit knowledge available to others. Remember, we use the phrase expert system. That's part of that. But the idea is if there's knowledge within your employees, then it should be somehow retrievable and shareable. And the term knowledge management is pretty recent vintage. Successful knowledge management, look at these things, this ought to intrigue you. Creates techniques, technologies, systems, and rewards, what was that word? Rewards, for getting employees to share what they know so that it can be preserved well after the employee leaves, for example, or so that they can benefit from that. And knowledge management, therefore, makes better use of accumulated workplace and enterprise knowledge so that the successor to a job doesn't have to reinvent and relearn what the person they replaced knew. This diagram has a lot of good stuff in it. I suggest you look this up in the text because there's actually quite a bit more than we can talk about in this one. Notice the enterprise intelligence at the top and the document management at the bottom, the same sort of progression of complexity that we saw in the food pyramid in chapter 1. Everything from document management up through leveraging organizational know-how and performance support. And this is the last slide in this chapter. It's an important one, this notion of if there's knowledge, then it needs to be managed. And where there's knowledge management, there is now an IT knowledge management system, otherwise, of course, known as a KMS. The notion of knowledge management systems are, of course, a major strategic use since a company trades on its knowledge and its information. Much more than its information, its knowledge, that how-to of information. Manages organizational learning and know-how. Helps knowledge workers. Did you know that you'll probably be a knowledge worker? Fairly new term, but an important one. You don't make widgets. If you, most of our workforce in America now is knowledge workers. Anyway, knowledge workers, what do? They create, organize, and make available important knowledge. And the knowledge management system then makes this knowledge available whenever and wherever it's needed. Knowledge includes processes, procedures, patents, reference works, formulas, best practices, forecasts, and fixes, among other things. And fixes is really important. And that concludes the notes from O'Brien Chapter 2, Competing with Information Technology, which should have been called Using Information Technology to Compete.